Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 2 of the HBO series The White Lotus, entitled New Day. It is a new day for all of our characters on this show. Episode 1 introduced us to these people, and we kind of just got an idea of like the characters that we were going to see over the course of this week at this resort. We had a lot of interesting things happen. We saw a lot of interesting dynamics as far as like the relationships between these individuals. And now it's a new day and things have changed. It's a new day for Mark. He's finding out that he doesn't have cancer in his balls. It's a new day for Nicole, finding out that Rachel and Shane, well, mainly Rachel, is not who she thought she was. Like, oh, she doesn't like Rachel at all. Rachel wrote a shitty article about her. It's a new day for Belinda and Tanya's budding friendship, romance. I don't know what this is. Oh, this bonding over massages. I don't know. But and it's a new day for I'm forgetting. For Rachel. For Rachel as well, realizing that Shane is absolutely terrible, and that this is. It seems like she's already planning for a divorce, which is interesting. But and it's also a new day for me because I am totally bewildered at why I am being inundated with articles that tell me that this show is incredible. I don't get it. This just must not be for me. I don't understand what this propaganda machine is that is ramming home this idea that this is a masterclass in television. I don't see it. I think that at the end of the day, this is a show that is not heavy on plot. I read an article about this show that said that it was a masterclass in tonal balance, and this episode was a masterclass in tonal balance, and I think it said it moved the subplots forward. This episode moved the subplots forward in as much as if I were to put one foot in front of the other, I have now technically moved forward. That is about as forward as these plots moved. Very minimal movement, if any at all, on most of these plot lines. At least nothing substantial. Like, there are literal updates, as in like last week we didn't know if Mark had cancer. This week we know that he does. But I mean, he doesn't. I'm sorry. Mark actually had the most action in his plot line happen in this episode. But at the end of the day, I find these characters to not only be unlikable, but to be uninteresting. And I don't know why that is. I don't know. Well, I know why I feel that way, but I don't understand why other people seem to feel like these characters are incredibly compelling. And I think what it is that at the end of the day, these are the types of people that just rub me the wrong way. So I'm going to get into a little bit of what the little bit that I did like, and then a little bit more detail on some of the issues that I have with this show. So Tanya I found to be moderately likable. Tanya is played by Jennifer Coolidge, who we know from most famously as Stifler's mom from American Pie. I find her to be the most, I don't even want to say interesting. She's the least unlikable character on the show. I think that would be the best way to put it. She has a quirky kind of aspect to her. She's borderline like inappropriate with Belinda, but in a way that you can't really say this person's being inappropriate. It's like she has no kind of like social barometer. Like she doesn't understand what's inappropriate and what's not, and what's too far and what isn't. And that's a little entertaining. She has her moments. She kind of reminds me of Bob from Schitt's Creek. It's kind of like, somebody who, if you knew them in real life, they'd really irritate you, but watching them on television irritate other people with things that aren't necessarily irritating, that they're just kind of like tone deaf to their behavior. I find that to be, I found it to be entertaining with Bob. I find it to be with Tanya, but saying that Tanya is the least unlikable character kind of, I think, gives you an idea of how I feel about everyone else. But I won't say everyone else, but mostly everyone else. But yeah, Tanya's, and even then, Tanya had a moment in this episode that I didn't particularly care for, which kind of, I think, creates a good, I guess, a good segue into another thing about this show that I'm not getting is why I'm being told that this show is funny. I'm not seeing it. There's a whole scene where Tanya approaches the two girls, Olivia and Paula, who I will rant about shortly. And I think this is meant to be played as funny, but they're like really high, and she comes up and she's like trying to talk to them about her dead mom and where she's going to spread the ashes. And I feel like this is meant to be played for laughs. Like the idea of her talking about spreading her mom's ashes while these two girls are just like, yo, you're fucking up my high right now. And I think it's bad when you are not laughing at something that's supposed to be funny and also knowing that it's supposed to be funny. Like, I think that's a pretty big failure. Like, if I don't even know that it's supposed to be funny, then that's on me. So then you can't necessarily say that the show fucked up because, like, okay, I'm missing the humor entirely. But when I can tell, like, you're trying to be funny and you're not, I feel like that's not very good. So, and that's something that, like, you know, I'm trying to compliment Tanya's character here. And even then, you know, I'm still like, she was involved in a scene that I just found to be a little frustrating, which I'll get into in a moment. But one of the other things that I can kind of reach for a like is like Shane is kind of like, I hate Shane as a character, but when you have characters that you hate that much, you're interested in them. Like, what are they gonna do next? And I am finding myself intrigued by the level of escalation that Shane is doing in his relationship with his wife. Like, it just seems like he's getting more and more overbearing, more and more manipulative, more and more commanding. And I'm wondering how much this is going to escalate, because like this episode, towards the end, he somehow finesses his way into probable sex right after making Rachel turn down this job that she wanted to do. And she turns her back to him, looks completely pissed off. And he somehow, as master manipulators do, kind of finesses his way into making out and presumably sex. So like, Shane's interesting to watch as much as I hate him, because it's like anytime he sees Armand, you know he's about to start fucking asking about that room, and it's like, oh my god, can you let this go? But yeah, so now I'm gonna get into some of the stuff that I didn't like, which is kind of a long list. So I'm gonna be looking over here at my notes a lot, but a lot of my things revolve around, and I don't know where we fall as far as this analysis of the characters, but the behavior of the characters kind of falls into, it can either be two things for me. Their behavior is either implausible, which is annoying for me, or there are people who really behave like this, and this is an accurate depiction of potentially real life rich white people, and they are just obnoxious, annoying, and uninteresting. And that's not good either. So like, if your characters are both unlikable, either unlikable or implausible, I'm not gonna like them regardless. And I feel like all of these characters fall into one of those two buckets. Like, it's not like there's somebody who's, who behaves normally, or there's somebody who, does things that make sense to me. Everybody's behavior seems like nobody in real life would act like this. And if that's not true, then these people are just terrible, and I don't like them for that either. If they could balance it with a decent amount of humor, then hey, then maybe we've got something. But the humor on this show is, oh my gosh, like they are digging for humor here to try to call this show funny. And this brand of humor, I can't even say brand of humor, because that makes it sound like, it is me. Like, it is like, okay, this isn't for me, but man, I have a hard time thinking that people find this show to be funny. But, well, where do I start? So the dynamic between Nicole and the kids that are there on vacation really irritates me, and Mark as well, actually. So that this whole family, Nicole, Mark, Olivia, Paula, who has come along on the trip, and then the son Quinn, their entire dynamic frustrates me because I don't understand it. Why is it that, for instance, every time Nicole tells Olivia to do something regarding Quinn, like don't make him sleep in the kitchen, he's gonna sleep out here now, every time she gives him some sort of command, gives her some sort of command, Quinn is ready to obey, and then she goes, yeah, we're not doing that. And then he listens to her like she has some sort of authority. And like the person with actual authority didn't just say something different. Like in this episode, they move his bed out of the kitchen and into the same room as Olivia and Paula. Nicole leaves, and then she goes, we don't want you here. And he goes, fine, I'll leave. And I'm like, where are you going? Like, she has no authority over you, none. Like, why are you just leaving? So to me, this is implausible behavior. Like, your parents just said this is what you are going to do, and now your sister, who is also subservient to the parents, says something different, and you listen to her. Like, that's just so weird to me. And then the whole idea of how, like, Mark, I like Mark too on this show. Actually, I think about it, I probably like Mark more than I definitely like Mark more than I like Tanya. But even Mark in this episode really underplayed the importance of them smuggling weed on the plane to go on this trip. Like, that's some serious shit. You can't just be like, he treated it like I don't know, man, I'm trying to think of like some small offense or something. Like they stole some cookies out the cookie jar. I don't know. He treats it like it's a slap on the wrist kind of thing, and like that's highly illegal. He totally downplayed that. And then Nicole, I don't like characters who are implausibly stupid. You cannot take 2 hits from a bong in a hotel room, have someone poke their head in, and not know what's going on. Like, insane to me. Why would you even smoke weed in the hotel room? But like, this is maybe like the level of entitlement that rich white people have. But either way, it's either implausible or it's irritating. And I just don't understand how, like, if you have a container of weed, like say you got it in like one of those pill bottles like you would get from the pharmacy, and say you got a weed in this container, in this pill container, and you take the top off of the pill container, within like 15 seconds, that whole room is gonna smell like weed. All you're doing is just sitting it on the table with the cap off. That whole room's gonna smell like weed real fucking fast. They go take hits from a bong in this hotel room. The whole thing, like, that room should smell like weed for hours, if not 24 hours. And then Nicole goes in like, something on fire in here? No? Okay. Okay, so you're either incredibly stupid or this is just how rich people get down. But like this kind of stuff is frustrating to me. Like seeing characters do things that either don't make sense or are irritating. And then I'm even more confused by the seemingly just complete praise that this show is getting. Like, I'm finding it boring. I'm finding it uninteresting, unlikable. Like, and the thing is, a lot of people criticize Schitt's Creek for having unlikable characters at the start, but Schitt's Creek quickly makes those characters likable. It's funny from the start, and then you have 6 seasons to work with. This is a 6-episode miniseries. These characters are not going to become likable. They're not going to develop over the course of 6 episodes into somebody totally different, and and someone who's shown growth over 6 episodes. It's just not going to happen. So like, this is who these people are. So these are just patently unlikable people. But anyway, Armand. Why does Armand lie about everything? Like, and again, if you have a character that just lies all the time, it could be funny, but he lies for no reason. Like, what? Like, why is he lying about having the backpack? Like, I mean, presumably he's gonna start using the drugs, but like, what? Why are you even rifling through people's shit like that? Like, somebody gets send something lost and found, you just go start looking through it. Like, again, these are probably things that maybe somebody else is watching this and going, haha, this is wild. And I'm watching and going, look at this entitled white bullshit that this motherfucker's doing, this rude shit. Like, these are just the kind of people that I'm so sick of in real life. So you put these entitled people in a television show where they're not going to have any room for growth, they're not funny, and they're not doing anything interesting. How the fuck do people like this show? It's beyond me. But he lies all the time for no reason. I don't know. What keeps lying about the fucking room and shit? Like, again, pointlessly, right? Like, if the room's going to open up from the room that Shane and Rachel want is going to open up, just give them the fucking room when it opens up. Why are you lying about when the German couple is leaving so as to say we can't give you that room? Like, just give them the fucking room. Like, ridiculous. But like I mentioned Steve Zahn's character Mark being too chill about the weed on the plane. I mentioned, why does Quinn always do what Olivia says? I also did like, I will say this, the added complexity, because Steve Zahn's character is the only one that's interesting to me. He's got, he had the situation where he thought he was gonna have cancer. He's trying to bond with his son. His son is like a total lame, like he's just playing video games all the time and being weird. His son's not that interested in the bonding. So he's having like these, this crisis of life, right? Like, I might not have too much time left. I want to bond with my kid, and my kid's being standoffish. What do I do here? He's having that, and now he finds out that his father died of AIDS and not cancer. Like, what? And that was the one, I will say, that was the one funny part in this episode for me. Is he goes, what did he die from? You hear AIDS over the phone. He goes, AIDS, and then the camera pans over Nicole, and she's like, I thought that was a great shot. Connie Britton is a great actress to me, by the way. I love Connie Britton. But yeah, I just, at the end of the day, this show is offering nothing that appeals to me. And that's not to say it's a bad show. I truly believe it is a show that is just not for me. I think it's given the time and given the climate, and when I say climate, I don't mean that in a literal sense. I mean like the climate in this country. Seeing rich, obnoxious white people being rich, obnoxious white people with no appeal, no humor, and no likability whatsoever is the last thing that I want to watch right now. Like, it almost feels tone deaf to put something like that out right now. And there's, like, again, maybe there's like a group of people who watch this and see, like, I know people like this, ha, 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 ha. And I'm watching like, these are disgusting and loathsome people, and I hate them all. They're not going to grow. They're not going to change. That's not the point. The point is just to see them have these experiences within this week, and it's not funny and it's not interesting. So I'm not gonna cover this show anymore. I may not even watch it anymore. I'm kind of curious to see who it is that dies, but there's just too much. There's too much going on, and none of which I find interesting. I don't care about Paula and this busboy that she's sneaking around with. I find Sydney Sweeney's character, Olivia, to be incredibly irritating. And then I also don't understand. She's like 23, 24 years old. They keep putting her in shit where she's like 16 and then making her get naked. And I'm like, is the point to kind of be like, hey pedophiles, if you want to feel like you're watching a teenager have sex, here you go. Like, I don't know what they're doing with her. And that hasn't happened on this show yet. But I just, Sydney Sweeney's character is really irritating. Like I said, everything she does is implausible to me. It's either whether it's drugs in a room or bossing your brother around when your parents said something different. Just having her way, irritating. Don't like it. I don't care about Rachel and Shane, like their whole situation, like too obnoxious of a character in Shane. Rachel, I do find to be intriguing, but not intriguing enough to keep covering the show. So, this is going to be the last episode on this show, barring some sort of miracle where I watch episode 3 and think it's incredible. But I'm not going to sit here and say this is a bad show. This might be a great show for people who maybe are a little bit more, I guess, in tune with the type of characters that they have on this show, in tune in the sense of like these people are relatable to them in a way that they can find some sort of likability or humor or interest in these characters. But I find these characters to be reprehensible. I don't think they're any good. I don't think they're funny. I don't think they're interesting. I just don't care. I found the episode being uneventful, boring. I'm just not with it. So I'm gonna be ceasing coverage on White Lotus, and that's gonna be that for this show, barring some sort of miracle. So hopefully this isn't one of those videos that gets like a shit ton of views and now people are gonna be pissed off. I mean, like, if it's something where people are like, okay, for some reason I want you to keep covering this show that you just spent 20 minutes shitting on. If for some reason that happens, then maybe I will come back and just be like, all right, I'll cover the last 4 episodes because fuck it, why not? But I don't foresee that happening. So probably the last time I'll be covering White Lotus. So I'll see you guys if you watch my future state video. I could talk about some of the things that I'm going to be covering coming up. I still have Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Got 2 more episodes left of that. I'm ceasing coverage of Rick and Morty as well. So that won't be happening. But there's a lot of stuff coming out soon that I'll be covering. And a couple of things that are gonna pop up that I know that I'm going to cover as well. So check that stuff out. And I'll see you guys then. Peace.